Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am. Excuse me, 1 second. Anyway, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of April 9th to the 15th, though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your Easter, or, your spring break, whether it was being with friends or families, or seeing, the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is definitely doing very well at the box office, make no mistake about it. And I don't deny the fact that probably, more than likely, a sequel is probably going to happen, though. But anyway, we got four stories to cover, including both Tears of the Last Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16 both had videos came out yesterday, though. One was a short final trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, and one was a 25-minute state of play based off of the upcoming release of Final Fantasy 16. We're also going to be taking a look at the situation surrounding the upcoming release of Redfall in terms of, basically, we are now learning that the console versions, the Xbox Series X and S, are going to be running at 30 frames per second, and this isn't exactly sitting very well with everybody out there, though. We're also going to be talking about an interesting rumor coming around that it seems that could be the possibility that Paper Mario: The Thousand Years Door could get sort of the remaster treatment to a certain extent, and supposedly some leaks from Sega, including some of the games that could be, or getting remake, though, may or may not actually happen, depending on how you look at it, though, ranging from Persona 3 to even a new Jet Set Radio, though. If you're interested in where I got the source of these informations, though, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents stories. Excuse me, stories that caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details. The first one seems to indicate that Joseph Staten, if I'm saying my name correctly, a veteran who has worked on the Halo series, has left Microsoft Studios, though. Supposedly he's venturing to do other things and all that stuff. It's going to be very interesting what this means for the Halo franchise going forward, though. The series, I think, has had some rough spots along the way, especially under the former leaderships of 343 Industries, whether it was how the Master Chief Collection was handled to how Halo Infinite, including the live service part, was being handled, though. So it's clear something needs to seriously change, though. I don't know whether there were things that were making things complicated or not, though, but whatever the case is that he's now officially has left Microsoft, though. Hopefully, whoever they bring in, though, hopefully they can get sort of steer the ship back in course, because I think the last thing is Microsoft wants us to make Master Chief sort of irrelevant or anything like that. So hopefully whatever this person's doing, I wish him the best of luck, and hopefully this could mean that things could get back on track for the Halo franchise, though. We also learned that there are some new updates, including DLC packs and bug fix for Hi-Fi Rush that is out right now, though. I'm very curious to see what this DLC pack and what some of these updates are going to be, though. But I'm glad, but still, I enjoyed Hi-Fi Rush. I think it is a very good game. Very surprised they shadow dropped this, though, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of these smaller titles like this or Pendiment make their way over to Game Pass in general. So that certainly is nice, though. We also learned that basically there is a rumor going around about the showcase for the upcoming, Xbox Bethesda showcase, and rumors seem to be pointing towards this being a 2-hour-long presentation. Now, whatever this case is, hopefully they'll show something very good about it. Maybe there's some third-party announcements. Maybe there's some good first-party announcements. I think that's something that Microsoft needs to work on, though. And of course, there has been reports of, we know that Starfield will be getting its own presentation, though, to be exact, though. It's possible they could be merging the two together, as supposedly this rumor is claiming to be, although we don't know 100% for sure. But in either case, whatever the case is, if they are going, hopefully this will be a good showcase, though. As for the Starfield one, I am hoping we'll see how the game looks basically on the Xbox Series X and S, though, particularly with the Xbox Series S, and we don't kind of run into the current situation we're dealing with RedFall. More on that. I'll be talking about that later in this video at all. We also announced that Nintendo has announced something called Nintendo Live 2023, though, that will be in August. Supposedly, it's just this event that Nintendo is hosting. I think it's where families and friends can get together, try out some games or anything like that. It's unclear what Nintendo might be. It doesn't sound like this is going to be sort of the situation we see when Nintendo hosts, their what could have been their E3 presentation this year. Although we now know E3 is not happening this year, and its future seems to be in doubt at this moment, to be exact, though. But I mean, that certainly is nice for friends or families or everything like that, though. We also learned that supposedly the former manager who handled Nintendo stuff in Russia is supposedly running a shadow office to keep the goods flowing. Although as the story has been recently updated, it seemed to indicate that there seems to be some cracking down to prevent that happen. For those who may not be aware of, last year when Russia invaded Ukraine, a lot of businesses pulled out of Russia almost like immediately, though. Nintendo recently did its suspended operations there. So while they never said that was the main reason, many speculated that because of what Russia was doing in Ukraine, that may have been one of the many reasons, even though Nintendo didn't outright themselves say this and all. So right now it's a very I think right now it's going to be interesting to see what Nintendo does with this, although we are hearing that Nintendo Europe is basically responding to this and all. We also learned that supposedly there are rumors going around that Star Wars Racer Revenge is supposedly going to get remastered and could be released this year. Granted, nothing has been confirmed at this time, though, to be exact, though, so a grain of salt should be taken with this rumor, though. That said, we've seen games get remastered in the Star Wars, like the original Racer, though, Republican Commander, The Force Unleashed. So this one, not out of the realm of possibility, but I'm still going to wait until we hear an official confirmation and all. We also learned that the theme for the Super Mario Brothers video game is now going to be heading into the Library of Congress, though, which is sort of interesting to see that the music for the original Super Mario Brothers is going to be making its way in there, though. I think it's becoming more and more clear, though, that video games have become more, shall we say, mainstream than it was, like, say, 30 years ago, to be exact, though. But still, very nice to see the original Mario Brothers music make its way over to the Library of Congress and all. We also learned that supposedly Jack Black's song Peaches, which has really exploded online and everything like that, is now eligible for an Oscar nomination, though. Now, whether this song wins the actual Oscar nomination or not remains to be seen, though. But in either case, it's very interesting that a song like this, which, as stupid and dumb as it might be, Jack Black somehow managed to make it work. It's so weird, and yet somehow he managed to pull it off. And that is pretty clever and all. Again, we don't know if it will win an Oscar, but we'll have to wait and see, though, and all that. But still, it just amazes me how this song just literally just blew up online and everything like that. We also learned that the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has now been delayed into February 2024, though. It remains to be seen why it was certainly delayed or anything like that. But many suspect, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case, though, is the amount of negative response following that state of play where they showed off Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and that got tore a whole new one right out of the gate, to be exact, though. There were rumors about this delay. It was coming from Jason Schreier to Jeff Grubbs, and now that it's being pushed I wonder if this delay will help or hurt the game, though. I mean, I feel like Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, like, they got a major uphill to climb on this. I think the whole live service, the looter shooter, or at least the Fortnite kind of approach to shooting purple orbs, certainly has rubbed people the wrong way and all. And the part that really sucks about this is that this is the late Kevin Conway's last time we'll ever hear him voice Batman ever again, and to be the last time to hear it to be reduced to this, it's just really, really sad and pathetic. So we'll see if this delay ends up helping or hurting the game, but right now I don't have a lot of high hopes about this one though. And of course, and last but not least, we also learned that basically a new trailer was shown for a video game called Immortal of Aveum, Aveum though. It's basically being revealed and being published by EA Origins and all. It's supposedly what they showed, although no, we don't know if this is official gameplay or just cinematic. Could be just cinematics though. It's basically a first-person sort of sorcery type of approach though. Supposedly it's made up of some folks who worked on the Call of Duty franchise, and supposedly it's being dubbed as a single-player experience though. Now, I want to see more of this though, because while part of this does seem interesting to be exact though, still a little iffy because this is from EA and given their track record. Yes, they can produce good games though. I mean, Jedi Fallen Order is a good example, and that's getting a sequel though. But still, it is EA, and I'm going to approach with some level of caution because of this though, to be exact though. It looks interesting, but I'm still somewhat cautious about this title though. And last but not least, into our movie and TV show part of my 2 cents though. Obviously, we've been hearing reports of the box office for the Super Mario Brothers though. Supposedly, there are box office predictions going out right now, seem to indicate that the movie could hit the $1 billion mark, which would be very impressive if that does though. I mean, right now we're hearing reports about it possibly making over 500 million, so it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. Whether it could go higher than the 1 billion mark, that remains to be seen though, but I am very curious to see how if that does happen or not. And like I said, given the success the movie is having right now, I don't deny the fact that a sequel is more than likely going to happen and all. We also have the teaser for, the first trailer for the Marvels that's upcoming, that stars on both Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel and all. I got a chance to watch the trailer though, and thought, this might be interesting though. I thought Miss Marvel was sort of good. I enjoyed that show. Maybe not on the same level as Moon Knight, but I still enjoyed it nevertheless though. And I thought Captain Marvel was good though. I thought it was as good as a Marvel Phase 1 movie. Maybe not on the same level as, say, Winter Soldier or anything like that, but still enjoyable nevertheless. And I'll probably be looking forward to seeing this one when it comes out, I believe, in November though. Sadly though, apparently there are people who are basically review bombing or trolling in terms of the first trailer that has come out, even as far as going as far as playing the woke card for no apparent reason, to be exact though. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying everybody who is who's hitting the dislike button is basically either trolling or anything like that. For some, this movie may not interest them at all, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm not going to criticize those who have no interest in seeing this movie. That's okay. That's your decision and all. At the end of the day, no matter how you want to look at it though. But at the same time, I am not buying into those who are just doing it just simply to troll or play the woke card and all. Honestly, to me, those who play the woke card, it's just as bad as those who play the race card in situations that aren't racist and all. So it's a bit unfortunate though. Again, I'm not here to say you have to see the Marvels or anything like that. If it doesn't interest you, it doesn't interest you. That's fine though. But I'm not supporting those who are simply just trolling or playing the woke card for no apparent reason though. We also learned that basically Warner Brothers will be launching a new streaming service. It will be replacing HBO Max. It will be called Max, to be exact though. Right now, I don't know much about whether they'll change any of the prices though. It could be just a name change or anything like that. This is basically combining all of their services like Discovery Plus or what was CNN Plus and other services as part of this one big thing. So that's why they're calling, from what I understand, is why they're calling it Max though. So we'll see how well this one does or not. So we'll just have to wait and see. We also learned that supposedly Bob Iger has been interviewed by Time Magazine and basically has some interesting comments ranging from former employee Ike Perlmutter to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So it's an interesting article. It's something worth taking a look at if you want to see, some of the response to what Bob Iger has said, who's recently went back and became the CEO of Disney, though. And last but not least, we're also hearing more about, some of the Star Wars movies for 2024, including ranging one from maybe a movie of The Mandalorian, though, which will be kind of interesting to see if that one happens, though. Some of the projects look really neat. I am very curious about the one taking place after the Rise of Skywalker, and also I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out for some of these upcoming Star Wars movies and all. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part and the movie and TV show part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Sega and a very interesting stuff that seemed to have popped up this week, though. For the most part, Sega, we sort of have been kept quiet when it comes to their other IPs. I mean, outside of we're hearing basically stuff like, maybe Phantasy Star Online, most of it has been focused on Sonic, considering how well, the two Sonic movies have done, and the recent release Sonic Frontier seem to have done very well so far in terms of sales and all. But there have been some rumblings about some ideas of what Sega might be doing with some of their IPs. We've heard rumors about the possibility of Skies of Arcadia getting the remaster treatment and so forth. And now there seems to be some indication on basically it has to do with the whole idea of maybe Persona 3 to even Jet Set Radio, and the possibility these could be the so-called super games that we've been hearing about for quite some time, though. In several articles, including some of these from GameSpot to My Nintendo, this one from My Nintendo reads, quote, though, last night, or whatever, I think this was weeks ago, we saw an initial Sega development video reel appear online, which includes two previous announced games by Sega and Aulx. The games shown were the Persona 3 remake and the reboot of Jet Set Radio. Fast forward to today, and two sites have come forward to confirm that the reel and the game showcase are legitimate. Gematsu, Gematsu, says that the Persona 3 remake is a project currently in the works at Aulx, and Sega Bits says that the Jet Set Radio footage is the real thing, and that Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi were pitched in mid-2022. While we cannot verify the footage itself, Gematsu understands that Persona 3 remake has been in development at Aulx for several years. A mysterious doormat, P3RE.jp, was registered on March 15th of this year. It might be related to the rumored Persona 3 remake, though. Just for a refresher, Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi were pitched in mid-2022 to be potentially online community-driven super games. As of a year ago, though, Crazy Taxi was 2-3 years out, and Jet Set Radio was unknown. Today's leaks are all known assets to be presented. We had a good relationship with Sega, so we don't like outright leaking and spoiling things that come to us, which is why we held off sharing, but the cat's out of the bag, so bag via others, so fear we share a little bit more, though. We also had, I think, one person, had one person who kind of made an update on some of the story, though, which basically reads, I think, according to this other person, saying, update, special thanks to anonymous user DM for this. So it seems this was part of footage from Sega's Japan Eternal meeting held in 2021. Japanese characters on top right reads, footage in development. Now, as of right now, it's worth pointing out neither Sega has said anything at this time, so no word on whether or not these are true or not. But let's say they are. Let's say, for argument's sake, these are true, though. The question is, will people be interested in these type of games? I mean, Crazy Taxi was a well-known arcade game and all that stuff. It was sort of an odd arcade game with the driving. It wasn't a traditional racing. It was just picking passengers up and then dropping them off at certain destinations within sort of a time limit, and how quickly you could get there to get like a high score and all. Jet Grind Radio certainly has a following though, with a sequel that was only exclusive on the original Xbox with Jet Set Radio Future, a game that I would have loved to see be part of the backwards compatibility on the Xbox, to be exact though. But otherwise, those series have sort of remained dormant for a very long time. So the possibility that these games might exist is sort of very interesting though, and I would definitely be down with these new games though. I am a little concerned about the idea of it being community driven, and I'm worried about this being like an always online type of approach. And well, let's just say we've seen people not happy with the idea of an always online type of a game. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not these games, whether this is real, whether this is legitimate, and whether or not these games still exist or not. And if they do, it'll be interesting to see when Sega decides to reveal them. Maybe sometime this year we'll see some footage and all that stuff. Maybe they'll reveal it this year, next year. So we'll have to wait and see. And should these so-called super games or these rebooted games like Crazy Taxi or basically Jet Set Radio do well, could we see other franchises get this kind of treatment too? Could other games in Sega's IPs get the same kind of treatment? So time will ultimately tell on that one. As far as the Persona 3 remake though, the reports seem to indicate it will be using sort of stuff similar to what was used for Persona 5. So I'm curious to see what this means for that game and whether or not something like Persona 4 could get that kind of treatment. So, and given how well the Persona series has been right now, including with the recent release on multiple systems, including the Xbox and the Nintendo Switch, it does make you kind of wonder, could something like 4 or even like 1 or 2 get the kind of remake treatment though? So time will ultimately tell. So overall, very interesting leak to be exact though, but I'm going to wait until there's an official confirmation on this though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with rumors going around about the possibility that Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door, could get the remaster treatment. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the situation surrounding Paper Mario, in which there seems to be rumors indicating we could get a remake of the 1,000-Year Door and all. Now, when it comes to Mario games in general, most people know Mario for basically the 2D or 3D platforming games and all. But Mario has done games sort of outside of that, ranging from games like the Mario Kart, just even some of the sports titles like Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Baseball, Mario Striker, which is soccer though. And yes, they have done RPGs, with the first one being the 1996 release of Super Mario RPGs Legends of the Seven Stars, which was a collaboration between Nintendo and Squaresoft though. This would later expand to what we now know as the Paper Mario series, to even the Mario and Luigi series that made their appearance on the original, on the Game Boy Advance, to the Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS though. But as far as the Paper Mario series goes, most people have had fond memories of entries like the Paper Mario, the first one on the Nintendo 64, to 1,000 Years Doors and all. And while there have been other entries like Super Paper Mario, Sticker Star Saga, Color Splash, the Origami King though, while there have been other entries though, none of them have ever reached the level as, say, what 1,000 Years Doors has been, because that one considered is a classic, and most people like some of the traditional RPGs approach with a little twist to it, unlike some of the new mechanics they put in the other games, which some people have very mixed response to the approach Nintendo has made though. Well, recently reports have been going around that Nintendo might be considering the idea of remaking the GameCube adventure, The Thousand Year Doors, and it could be making its way over to the not remaking. My apologies, remastering. I apologize on that part, and that could be making its way over to the Nintendo Switch possibly. In an article from My Nintendo, this is what they had to say. Quote, excuse me. A member of the Fama Board's forums who claims to be an investigative journalist has reportedly learned that Nintendo has been busy working on Paper Mario Thousand Year Door Remaster for the Nintendo Switch platform. The user says that he has previously provided verified rumors to various YouTube channels while remaining in the background as he doesn't like the attention. The user said they have been in contact with 3 sources regarding Paper Mario Remaster. They point out this is a rumor, nothing's been announced by Nintendo, but this is what this person had to say. Quote, as some of you know, I do hobby journalism behind the scene and research various things for fun. Some accurate Nintendo rumors that were reported by YouTubers and other sites, and in the past, partially were based on my research. As I said, I don't like attention and thus always ask everyone to keep me private, which I tend to continue to remain private in those stories. However, now I have something super excited that I'm aware of. Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remaster is finally happening and coming soon. I have been in touch with 3 sources with this. One of them redirected me to the 3rd source, who I haven't interacted before, so I was just me cold messaging them on LinkedIn. Because of this 3rd source won't acknowledge the release date I have heard from previously 2 sources, I'll just leave it at coming soon. I've informed both Nintendo Prime and Nate Drake about this privately. There's one more person I have informed, but they wish to remain anonymous. I personally always have wished for the Thousand Year Door Remastered. I never played it on GameCube, so I'm over the moon excited to finally play it on Switch soon. Now, it is worth pointing out that Nintendo has not confirmed nor denied this rumor and has not said anything as the recording of this video, nor has Nintendo Prime or Nate Drake has said anything at this time. So it is worth taking this with a grain of salt at this time. That being said, I certainly will not rule out, certainly not out of the realm of possibility that Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door could get the remastered treatment though. Given how popular Mario is right now, especially with the new movie already out and doing very, I said this before many times, very well at the box office, I think this would be a very good time to release a Mario game, to be exact, particularly if it's a remaster of the Thousand Years Doors. Also, Nintendo has released several games that have remastered and have done very well, though. The recent one was the Metroid Prime Remaster, which is the remaster of the first GameCube game that has made its way over to the Nintendo Switch, to even The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. That game got the remastered treatment, and that was released on the Nintendo Switch, and that did very well, to be exact. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility that Nintendo could remake Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and while the Origami King, while some may have mixed views, especially with the combat system though, it seemed that game did very well in terms of sales-wise. So this is definitely not out of the realm of possibility, and I think this would be a good time to release a Mario game, especially with the whole, especially with how well the Mario movie is doing so far. So overall, I am going to take this one with a grain of salt, though. Nothing has been confirmed at this time, though. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility that a remastered version of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Doors could happen, though. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with a very unfortunate situation surrounding the game Redfall, which we're getting very close to its May 2nd release. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be talking about Redfall, particularly depending on how you want to look at it though, a new controversy has somehow emerged with that game though. Now, one of the games that Aulx Studio is working on that is scheduled for, at least for the time being, for May 2nd, was Redfall. Originally was supposed to come out last year, but got pushed into basically this year and all. And supposedly, for what they showed so far, looked like something that was pretty promising. They showed off a game that can be enjoyed both in a single player and in a multiplayer kind of experience. And judging from what I've seen so far, it definitely did get a little bit of somewhat of a Borderlands vibe to it, to a certain degree though, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. However, as much as I'm looking forward to trying this game out, especially when it comes to Game Pass though, there have been some controversies based on some of the decisions or some of the PR or some of the stuff that Aulx has basically said that, depending on who you ask, might have rubbed people the wrong way. We've seen controversies ranging from the possibility that there may have been a PS5 version, or a PS5 version was taken into consideration, but this was before. But this all changed after Microsoft purchased Bethesda, though. We've also learned about the always online connection, and that has not sat very well with everybody. But there are claims that they are working for a offline mode, especially if you are playing this game for a single player experience, though. And now, apparently, a new controversy has kind of emerged. This one has to do with the fact that we are now learning that the Xbox Series S and the X and S version will be running at 30 frames per second, though. It's 30 FPS. Not only that, we're also learning that basically the PC version will be installing what is apparently is the anti-piracy DEN UVO on PC, which is kind of interesting considering the fact that we're hearing other companies are removing this, like Capcom is with the Resident Evil 8 Village, though. Anyway, in the article from GameSpot, it reads that, quote, excuse me, Redfall developer Arcane Austin has confirmed that its upcoming vampire hunting adventure will launch with quality mode only on Xbox Series X and S, with a performance mode option arriving in a later update. This means that the game will be hard locked to 30 frames per second at a high resolution is prioritized, which on Xbox Series X will be at 4K, and on Xbox Series S it will be at 1440p though. While many modern consoles games usually feature the option to toggle between quality or performance game when launched, Redfall is one of those exceptions to this rule. Last year, Gotham Knights also launched with only quality option on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, and in 2023, its frame rate is still capped at 30 FPS on consoles. Deathloop, which was developed by Arcane Lyon, or should I say Lyon, did launch with quality and performance mode on PS5 as it retains those options for its Xbox Series X and S launch a year later. Fast-paced shooters, performance mode is generally favored, but the sheer scope of the sandbox that Redfall takes place in could be the reason why the resolution is being favored over the frame rate. In a previous interview, creative director Harvey Smith also mentioned that the game was developed under challenging COVID-19 pandemic challenges and frequent power outage, though. With the launch day fast approaching, more details on Redfall has begun to emerge. Arcane has confirmed that the co-op vampire shooter will launch with the anti-piracy tool DEN UVO on PC, and right now you can enter sweepstakes to enter, they're saying, a custom Redfall Xbox Series X console though. In terms of the frame rate though, I'm gonna say this though. Am I disappointed in this? Yes, and I'll get to a huge detail on it though, but am I losing complete sleep on this though? I would say not necessarily though. I don't think 30 frames per second is necessarily bad, providing that it's a stable, steady 30 frames per second though. So I don't think 30 frames per second is as bad as some people make it sound like it is, but some of that will depend on the developers and how they handle the game though. That being said though, I definitely can see why there's a lot of criticism towards what Arcane has done though. What really bothers me about this whole situation is the fact that based off the preview builds that we have seen so far, it has shown the game running at basically 60 frames per second, and it was only showing the PC build though, and that bothers me to a certain extent because this is almost very similar to what we saw with what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, where the developers did not even show the console version or the console build of the game though, and only focus on the PC. And when the console versions finally came out, well, let's just say whole thing hit the fan big time, and it hurt CD Projekt Red's reputation, a reputation that they have tried working hard to rebuild following the backlash when that game launched back in 2020. Is it a better game now? Yes, but the game should never have launched in that kind of position though. And the fact that we only saw the preview based off the PC build is very worrisome, because to me, I would like to see how this game is going to run on the Xbox Series X and S though, particularly on the Xbox Series S, since that's the system I have though. And the fact that we are not seeing what the console version looks, that bothers me, because to me, that kind of raised some red flags on whether or not is the console version going to be as bad or worse or anything like that. So there is definitely some concerns I have about how Arcane handled this kind of situation though. I think they should have been more upfront on showing what the version is going to look like on the Xbox Series X and S, rather than just focus on just one version, which is based off the PC version though. I mean, it does give the impression that they kind of misled consumers to a certain degree, and that's the part that kind of bothers me a lot about this situation, to be exact though. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the game looks terrible or anything like that, and since it's coming day one on Game Pass, I'm going to try the game out on Game Pass to see whether or not how the version, at least the one on the Xbox Series S, is going to look and everything like that. But still, this is not a smart move on Arcane's part. I think this was a very, very dumb decision on their part to do this though, because I really think consumers should have a right to know how the console version is going to look to determine whether or not they want to try out the console version or whether they want to try out the PC version. And this is what kind of worries me a little bit with Starfield, with the upcoming release though. We know that one is getting its direct though, but I'm hoping with that game, we'll see how the game runs on both the Xbox Series X and S, preferably for the Xbox Series S, and how this is going to run on the PC and all, particularly for those who are thinking of getting on PC. What are the specs, and whether or not can you run it on your current PC, or you're going to have to upgrade or anything like that. So I just don't agree with how Arcane handled this situation though, and it definitely raises a lot of questions about some of the previews that a lot of these folks were talking about, since this is probably what's based off the PC build and all. So overall though, I'm not as bothered with it only running at 30 frames per second though, but the way Arcane handled this situation, I think was very stupid on their part. They should have shown the console version along with the PC version so people know how the game is going to look and run based on the system out there though. And while we know that a 60 frames per second, we know that a performance mode supposedly is on its way, we don't know how long we're going to wait for it though. So I would say Arcane did not handle this situation very well, nor did Bethesda, nor did Microsoft themselves either. They should have handled this a bit better. We should have seen we should have seen how the console version looked as well, as along with the PC version too. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16, which both had videos dropped on basically Thursday and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at two trailers, or two videos that were shown this week, though, or should I say, on Thursday to be exact. And that is basically the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and it's state of play based off only on just showing off Final Fantasy 16 though. Now, I will say, based on both of these trailers, both of these games I'm definitely looking forward to. Tears of the Kingdom is definitely one high on my list though, considering it's the sequel to 2017's Breath of the Wild though. And I mean, we started to see more and more, or should I say drip of more information coming out though. Last time we had a 10-minute video that explored a lot of the things, including ranging from some of the floating islands, the idea of combining items together to give, your weapon durability, a better shot and everything like that. And so mostly this wasn't a long trailer. It was basically a final trailer, but it did show off a lot of the stuff, including some of the areas Link will be visiting, including some towns that may have experienced a change since the events of the Breath of the Wild, to some of the ideas like basically Link using what basically is creating a wagon to transport people, to even confronting basically several enemies that are on like a moving tree or anything like that, and he creates a sort of a thing that confronts that and all. And of course there's Ganon, and basically Ganon looks very much I would say looks really, really interesting though. He looks very much closer to the kind of Ganon from games like, the Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess and all. So it's going to be really interesting. This is one definitely on my radar and all, and I'm definitely looking forward to when this game comes out next month though. I am still a little concerned about the weapons durability part, because I know that was one of the criticisms. Not everyone was a fan of that kind of feature in Breath of the Wild and all, and I am very curious in terms about whether there are going to be dungeons or not. Some of the trailers, some folks seem to indicate that might be true based on some of the trailers that have been shown and all, but we'll see when that game definitely comes out. But it's definitely on my radar though. The other game that we saw was basically, and this was from Sony's State of Play, and this had to do with the Final Fantasy 16 though, and they certainly spent some 25 minutes, and I would say presentation wise though, I thought this was very good. I mean, I think they dive into a lot of the stuff, and they talked about some of the hideout that Clive is going to be and all that, to even some of the side quests, like some of the hunts, to meeting with some of the folks in it though. The combat though is sort of depending on it, you're either going to love it or hate it though. There are those who basically don't like the fact that this is not a turn-based and this is more of an action RPG though. And I can understand some of the criticism towards that though, to be exact though. I mean, I understand there are those who enjoy turn-based RPGs, and don't get me wrong, I think turn-based RPGs are fun, and I do think it's a little unfortunate that Final Fantasy, at least for Final Fantasy 16, is not going that route. On the other hand, though, I have no problem with this game being a action RPG either, though. I think some of the combat they showed is really neat, though, and I do like some of the accessibility that they added into. You'll be able to customize Clive in terms of the type of combat you want, maybe to help in terms of stuff like parrying or dodging or anything like that. So there's definitely plenty of accessibilities to play around with to determine what kind of play style you in particularly want though. So there's definitely a lot of stuff that they showed in that trailer that I definitely or that state of play that I really like though. This is definitely another game on my list that I will be trying out as well though. So I definitely think both of these trailers were good in their own right though. The Tears of the Kingdom looked really nice. Final Fantasy 16 is definitely high on my list also as well. I'll probably be getting this one when it comes out on the PS5, I think in June to be exact though. So it does look like we got some heavy hitters on this year though. Obviously with Tears of the Kingdom, with Final Fantasy 16. I'm going to be very curious to see if Starfield can deliver on that when that comes out later on this year. But I would say overall, definitely like what they showed with Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16, though. I think both of these games are definitely on my radar, and I am looking forward to getting these games. With with Tears of the Kingdom coming out next month and Final Fantasy 16 following in June, which I believe it's June 22nd though, but I'm definitely looking forward to both of these games in general. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about these rumors about Sega possibly working on a Persona 3 remake to a reboot of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio or Jet Grind Radio, however you want to call it? Do you think these rumors are legitimate? Do you think these leaks are true? And if so, do you looking forward to these titles? Are there any other titles you think Sega should do a reboot of, to be exact though? What are your thoughts about the rumor about Paper Mario Thousand Year Door possibly coming to the Nintendo Switch though? Do you think this rumor is legitimate though? Do you think they should port over Paper Mario A Thousand Year Door to the Nintendo Switch? Do you think this would be a good time? This would be an excellent time to do it? Do you think that would be the case considering how well the Mario movie is doing in the box office though? What are your thoughts about the situation with RedFall being at 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X and S with a performance mode coming later though? Is this a big deal for you? Is it not a big deal for you at all? Are you okay with it running at 30 frames per second at this time on the Xbox Series X and S? Do you think Bethesda, Arcane, and Microsoft handled the preview of this game poorly, just showing off the PC version of the game running at 60 frames per second and not showing how the game is going to look and run on the Xbox Series X and S? And finally, what are your thoughts about the final trailer for Tears of the Kingdom and the state of play for Final Fantasy 16? Do you think both these trailers were impressive though, or these videos were impressive? Are you looking forward to both of these games? Are you looking forward to just one of them at the same time? Is it Tears of the Kingdom or is it Final Fantasy 16? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!